So this is. I didn't realize. This is what you and I briefly talked about.
Jen, does this reflect the transfer over to the township?
That's yours.
This.
Yours.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That one's on the sign-in sheet. Approval of the minutes from the September 11th monthly meeting.
I read it, but I just wanted from, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Approval of the minutes for the special 2023 fall road work bid review. The meeting was on September 18th. And just, we approved to do Mole Road yet this year with our budget leveling course and wearing course, and we held the rest off until next year. So that was $74,475. So, anything else? I'll make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Approval of the minutes from September 20th Fleetwood budget meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Code enforcement.
Okay, just a quick overview. We issued 13 building permits for the period. Total construction value is $727,651.18. 8 of those were residential, 5 non-residential. 43 building inspections performed, and the number of property maintenance and zoning issues. 3 compliance achieved. Just a couple of the highlights and lowlights. We had the zoning hearing for 219 Dryville Road. That hearing was continued till, I believe, the 20th, 19th or 20th.
19th.
Okay. So that'll be coming up. 330 Mine Road. I was actually on the property for the first time last week. He allowed me on. The deal was he had to let me on the property and either have the property cleaned up by the end of October or provide us with a signed contract with a construction date before the end of the year for a building to move everything into. There's not a lot of stuff on the property that's non-compliant. There's a couple of tractors, there's some junk. Most of the trailers are licensed or inspected if they need to be. There's a truck that he uses as a plow truck, I believe, that has let me try to think what kind of license plate it is through his business that he's allowed to put a plate on it. There's a car with an antique tag on it. I have everything documented back at the office, so. But there's a lot of junk there yet, and of course high weeds. So he's gonna need to at least have the weeds cut and a contract for a building by the end of October. That was the agreement that we reached while we were at the DJ's office. So stay tuned. Tomorrow morning is the hearing for McCardle's Pub. I'm a little disappointed in the fact that we gave her 30 days to get the property cleaned up, show the judge that we're trying to work with her. We had to reschedule it once due to a conflict, and the hearing's tomorrow, and the property looks worse now than it did before. So we'll see what the judge has to say about that. I think that's pretty much the highlights. Property at 12 Rich Maiden, that was high grass and weeds and rubbish and garbage in the rear yard. That property is now compliant. We'll take that one off the list. So, any questions on anything?
All right, SEO report for September.
A lot going on.
Any update on the last 2 properties?
468 Eagle is scheduled to be pumped, so as soon as I get a slip on that, we can take it off. 26 Lincoln is the only one that has to get done yet. We have no phone numbers or anything for contact, but that is the only one left on the list.
Well, I contacted the other 2, so hopefully we got some movement there. So
Right.
this is the last one. 26 Lincoln.
Yes.
Okay.
I might be able to do something with that. What is it says contract?
Police report.
I think O'Shea was over at town, and he's supposed to be coming over afterwards.
Is he? Is he coming?
Yes,
Well, then we're just gonna wait on the police report.
at least that's what he told me.
Fire company, Virgin Hill. I don't have any questions on that. guys have any questions?
Yeah.
Along with town?
Leverage.
Yeah. Intergovernmental cooperation agreement with Albany Township.
This is something that the road crews requested.
Robbie's out, right?
To allow the township to share road crew personnel and equipment with Albany Township. It's the same as other agreements we have of this nature. Process for approval of the agreement would be for you to make a motion to adopt the resolution. By adopting that resolution, you'll be approving the execution of the agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Neil Burkholder, waiver of land development request.
This was the paperwork I just handed to you to give a little bit clarification on what's being asked. Neil had submitted the building permits, and with that, there were some questions regarding stormwater, and that led to just the letter that he included. If you have in front of you, it's a 40 by 60, I think by 16 building, as he says, for a farm shop. The location is going to be on an area that's already in stone, so for the stormwater ordinance, it's not increasing anything there. I think the permitting itself is pretty far along, but with a commercial building this size, typically we go through the same process as we have in the past to have them request the waiver of land development process. Again, he submitted those are just kind of sketches that go along with what's being proposed, shows you where it is on the property.
It's just some distance from any property lines.
Yeah. It's
I-
a ways.
Don't think there's any property lines nearby at all.
Yeah, you're probably a couple hundred yards.
Yeah, I agree. So when they were submitting for the permits, we just given the size of the building that it is kind of a agricultural but commercial type improvement, that just to go through the same process as we've had with others, just have this in front of the board and make sure that the board would agree with the waiver of land development.
Will there be a zoning permit?
There will be,
All right.
yeah.
We want to make sure that the use is clearly stated on the zoning permit. Avoid any confusion about that.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. We've had problems in the past. This looks like a commercial building, and I have no problem with the land development process, but we don't want a problem down the road.
Yeah,
Make
that's,
sure it's clear of what's acceptable and what's not, whoever does the zoning permit. How would you, Jeff? Do you have any other questions?
Nope, I had to set it out the same thing, so I don't know. Need a motion.
Motion to approve the waiver of land development.
I'll make a motion to approve the waiver.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Um,
No business? Go right to the engineer's report.
The first one on there is the solar farm. To provide an update on that. They have, if you haven't been through there, there's a lot less numbers on the site. They've, at this point, as far as the equipment, the electrical connections and the inspections that go along with that, they have installed those improvements and they have been inspected and approved on the building permit end of things. There's also the zoning permit. So the zoning permit is tied closely to everything else that we've been talking about, the soil amendments, all the other site improvements that are required directly out of the zoning for this. So at this time, they haven't given us a date, so I reached out to the contractor instead of the superintendent, and it looks like there's still some paperwork to be processed, but they're looking at probably the beginning of next week to get in there and do that. They're estimating at least 30 days to do the work, so at that point, I don't know how well we'll have seeding take place on this, but we made it well known to them that until the site is stabilized and accepted for what's on the plans, and that's the soil stabilization, the grass, everything, that there won't be a zoning permit issued for any type of processing of electricity. So we're going to be well into the spring before that part of the project continues, but that's to make sure that the zoning end of this gets taken care of. So we're looking for them to get in there. They have the equipment on site. It's just a matter of when they show up to start doing the work. There is a punch list that we've been back and forth with them on different items of what needs to be done. There's still a handful of items on that end that they need to do in addition to the soil amendments. But there were the other updates. I know there was an email I'd sent just giving an update as far as the DEP response. Pretty lacking as far as what they've said in regards to the Floyd Kurtz request. I did get information from them, provided that to Floyd so that he can contact them directly, them being Hillstone, and see if there's any progress on that. But DEP did want to have a little bit more of a conversation with the Conservation District because they've been involved more than the people at the South Central Regional Office. So that's kind of ongoing. They really didn't give much of a response at this point, that they hadn't found anything conclusive, but hopefully we're still digging into that, holding on hope, but I haven't had very good answers on that end yet. To the other end, I know we've had the discussions about Ron's side of we basically reached out to them the day after the meeting. I know Jeff had gone out, looked at the property. The next day we told them, hey, this needs to get done as soon as possible, but I think it got completed before they did the work. So
I never got called.
they said they had reached out to him, and I can't say I trust everything they've told me as far as who they contacted.
Or at this point, anything,
But
basically anything.
yeah,
Just a note, they continue to use my address. And I know that it was emphatically stated at a previous supervisors meeting that they don't just send things to other people's addresses. They're sending laborers to my address at 7:30 on Monday mornings for 3 weeks in a row this past month. I have called Scott. I have called Game Changer. Game Changer is such a robust company that even their higher up that has their phone number on the paperwork for the deliveries, because there were 3 deliveries as well. One of them being 4 porta potties, or 2 porta potties that stayed on my property for 4 days. And they will not change it. Very upstanding.
It's game changer.
Game Changer is apparently one of the contractors on site. They're using a hired laborer source here locally. And apparently Game Changer gave the local labor company my address again. Because in order to do that, they drop a pin in Google. And whatever address comes up, that's the one they use. So it's 2 contractors now that have used my address. The first for 3 deliveries. The second for 3 deliveries and 3 weeks, Monday mornings at 7:30 in a row. They blocked my driveway last week and I flipped out because I needed to get my daughter on the bus.
There's even 2 addresses for that property.
yeah, I don't understand it either. They do have a mailbox, but as far as deliveries, obviously they got to go somewhere. I don't. When you had first brought this up, I had reached out to them and asked them to get on top of that. I mean,
Not very
Not too
responsive.
sure what else we needed.
It should be that difficult to get the right.
No, I don't understand the name.
Well, it sounds like we need to remind them again about the address problem. So, I mean, it's an ongoing problem. We ought to try to redirect them if we can. I mean, they haven't been responsive, but I think we still should try to raise that issue and see if they'll, acknowledge it.
They should be using 186 Weaver's Road.
Yeah. Is it just Game Changer is the name involved?
This time, yes. Previously, it was another, but this time it's just Game Changer. I had to, my telephone pole at the end of the lane was supposed to be fixed by Med Ed, and they vacated my property all of a sudden, and this black van drove in. And it was it was the third delivery for Game Changer specifically, and I asked to take a picture of the delivery slip. And that's how I got the contact information for them.
It's been a challenge with them, to say the least.
Going back to Floyd's situation, is it your understanding DEP is looking at it, or is there something else we can do to raise the issue with DEP?
The letter that Brian sent to DEP was the central office. They only responded once I called them, and even that was the secretary for the office. And their answer was, well, it should have been the clean drinking water. So I don't even know if they'll get a response.
Or can
So-
we send another copy to the drinking water people?
So I forwarded it to South Central Regional Safe Drinking Water. I don't necessarily know if Dave Gates is who called me. He called because he felt like there was a lack of response from central office and he didn't want the township not to get a response. So at least a courtesy, I guess, but the answer was they just, at this point, did not see enough conclusive evidence for them to take action. He also made the point that the safe drinking water is not necessarily for on-lot wells. It's usually for public system when they get involved. But I said if there was a direct source identified and you could identify that, then it seems like you would step in. He said, but at this time they didn't. Now that was before there was a new well installed. And he did not, it didn't seem like he had much contact with Dean Druckenmiller or anybody from the local department, just to touch base and see where they were at, or if they had any other position that had, it unfortunately just was not hopeful in my, in my mind. I would have liked to hear more that they were still looking into it, but, now that's, they said they had a geologist from their department look into this, but I do know, talking to Floyd, that he never had anybody approach him or ask to go on the property and look at the well, so he's not too sure how comments about his well were made or any kind of conclusion was drawn. But he is also reaching out to the same person that contacted me to try to get more information or see if they'd be willing to come when he's there. So it's just kind of on that end, it's kind of a disheartening answer, but.
What is Floyd's situation? Does he have clean potable water now?
He said recently it has been better.
With the old well or with the new?
With the new well. But I do know I had pictures from him that did show that it was after the new well, he did have situations where it wasn't clear.
Is there a casing with the new well?
I didn't really get into many, I don't have too much of a background on wells and to give a good understanding, give a good, any kind of advice or know what was done, but I mean, it was probably 2 months now that it was put in.
Okay. Well, these situations that with Floyd and with Ron are not directly covered by any agreement that we have with Heelstone. But you know, my recommendation to the board would be that if a time comes when Heelstone is looking for release of their financial security, that the board may raise these issues before any releases of financial security are granted, just to see if we can use any leverage we might have at that time to get some satisfaction for both of the Kurtzes on the issues that they have, if they have not been addressed between now and the time when the board has a request pending for release of financial security. Again, I'm not telling you that we have a solid basis to deny the release request, but I think that would be the time when we would have some leverage to push these issues.
Can I just add something to that?
Go ahead.
While I agree with understanding what Chris is saying, but I think it would send a strong signal to them. You've dealt with them before, Chris. They don't care. They flat out do not care about our township or our residents. They don't care. So the longer we just let them kick us down the road, they will continue. To me, the Goggers should be trespassing. The police should not even allow them to come onto their property and retain their stuff. It should go back to the people who brought it. At what right do you have to deliver stuff to somebody else's property and then go on their property and, you know, destroy it and keep her from going on the bus, doing
Well, you
whatever?
know, but that would be a police issue.
Well,
That's not
well,
a township issue.
But here he is, so we can ask him. But at some point, I think we have, as a township, have to step up and say, if you're gonna hold these permits, more likely you're gonna get sued. At some point, this is all going to be in court. That's where it's headed. So you can stand up for our residents. It has nothing to do with the project itself. It's how the residents are being treated as the project is being moved on. And it's not right. You guys are here for the residents, to do what's right for our residents. This isn't right. We shouldn't have to be doing this.
I agree, Ron, but we only have so much recourse. And we can't be the aggressor. We can do as strong as we can, and we still have leverage. They want to get this $14 million project cranking out energy.
Mhm.
And when it comes to that, I don't know what else we can do besides we shut it down. Nothing phases them. And the
I
fact that we have no support from any kind of governmental agency above us, county, senators, congressmen, it's a blind eye to this project for whatever reason, in my opinion. Where would the DEP ever say, oh, we can't do anything about well water? It is pathetic, to say the least.
Agreed.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't know how much leverage we have to fire the first shot. I think we've been as aggressive as we can. The trespassing thing, that would be a no-brainer. I'd call the police, I'd keep their stuff, do whatever. They know what the problem is. That's an issue. For the township, I get what you're saying, and I wish we could fix it, but I don't know what other leverage we have. And to shut them down and stuff without cause makes me a little concerned, because you're right, it's gonna end up in a lawsuit, no doubt in my mind either.
I mean,
But we wanna make the right moves.
They didn't
in
even
this
pay
chess game.
and follow through with the permit. The permitting flat out tells them you can't have open ground and you can't stack stuff in a wet zone and floodplain. Yet they continue to, every month, here we are talking about something else that, you know, Jeff had reached out to me and said they were gonna call me. They never called. They'll never call. They're not gonna call. It's been a year of this same thing, month after month after month, and it's just getting tiresome. I'm sure it is for you as much as it
Very
is for us.
tiresome on this end.
But at what point do we say, no, that's it? We're not tolerating this. That's it. I even concerned about them starting now. The ripping, it makes sense. Okay, you can rip it. Hopefully the water will sink in. But I guess I would ask you, Scott, they put down 8 inches of amended soil. Are we gonna have board washing or less erosion? Because now we're not gonna have any grass. I mean, well, at least now we have something, but you take that away, what is gonna grow in the next, we're talking 30 days till this gets finished, now we're talking at the earliest, November the 9th. What grants are we gonna have to hold, and
I guess the question is, it's not a bad question at this point. Simply, we know the weather's changed and, I mean, it's, at this point, it's not coming back. If, as Floyd's saying, if he thinks his property is doing better and it is getting less polluted, I think there might be a situation we might need to have with them and just, I think it's a good question, Ron, at this point, if it's gonna,
wait till spring?
Yeah.
I mean, we have a little bit of vegetation there now.
I
If we
mean,
destroy what we have, what are we gonna have to plant?
I think the other thing to add to this is they created this problem themselves.
100%.
So it's not a, and I mean, to the point of they decided to change the amendment and it's 2 months back. So we would have already had grass by now. I don't think that's a bad avenue to,
I see a disaster for it.
Yes.
I do. I
They
think it's
ripped
a-
that, and then they put sand and amended soil in there, we had a 10-inch rain, you know where that's all going?
Freezing and
Freezing and
falling.
falling with the rain, 2-inch rain on top of that.
It's going downhill. I don't know, I think there might be something listening.
I think,
I mean, there's grass there now, but they ripped that to get that loose.
I actually think that's a good approach here. I think the conservation district would be, I would cross my fingers, the conservation district would be behind that. They have their cutoff date. So I think we're well within our rights to kind of push that at this point. They've already been told that if you don't have this stabilized and ready before the winter, then you're not going to approve the next phase of the zoning permit.
Maybe we should set up a face-to-face meeting with Dean and have at least one of the three of you and Scott, maybe I should participate. I think we ought to have a face-to-face meeting with Dean.
We'll do it sooner than later,
Yeah.
because once they start,
Once they start.
they
Yeah, I
get
mean-
ground up.
At this point, we've kind of waited around for them to do it, and even by email last week, it was supposed to be first thing today, and
Did they get final approval from the DEP for the amended soils?
they did.
Just
That came, I think it was last week, because when I pushed last week to say, what kind of response do you have, what kind of schedule do you have? They said, we've been hesitant with the fact that we would be doing this at our own risk without a DEP approval. And then 2 days later, they got that approval. I mean, to me, it looked like they were gonna give the approval anyway, but it's just moved it at pace. I think there's good reason to push back on this one.
But it should be done in the next day or two.
I mean, we can do a Zoom call, team call, whatever you want to do tomorrow.
How do we get it set up?
Do we have to just have one, we'd have to have one person if we do it tomorrow.
I'm out of town, so we do
So it'd
some,
be available tomorrow,
or Scott.
one way or the other. Might have to do it through Zoom, but.
I was gonna say, I think I'm a little, well, we can talk time.
Okay.
I have time, I can do it, so.
Yeah, they're gonna get pushed back on that because they're not gonna wanna do that because they won't be able to be in total compliance and they will generate energy tomorrow if they could.
Yeah, they're not gonna have grass, they're not gonna be able to stabilize it.
And they're not gonna get the permit.
I think it would be nice to have the conservation district behind us and agree with this, but I think the township might have the ability to say it too. But again, it's been the goal to try to have the conservation district or somebody.
Do something.
No, I'd like to start there and see if that leads anywhere, and if it doesn't, then we'll have to do it on the.
Is the attorney for Hillstone, is that the same guy that came with Richmond?
He's their local counsel.
Yeah, I don't think there's a good chance they're gonna get that reestablished this year anymore. I mean, it's gonna be November till they plant that. Unless we get a really mild fall, but still, it's gonna be marginal at best. It's the 10th of October. It's
Next Monday's start was if the paperwork got processed. So that means there's still paperwork on there and that hasn't been processed, so I just don't trust that that's even gonna follow
And this,
through.
wasn't this a part of the plan that they knew they had to do it? So why isn't paperwork and everything? I mean, it's all back to them. This isn't nothing new to them.
When they decided they wanted to change the amended soils, which was kind of a plan they had since plan approval, it was gonna slow things down and they didn't wanna do that. But then when it came time to do the work, that's when they finally submitted for that change. Just for them, it was a cost savings, but on our end, it was, we didn't care about the cost. You still had to show you were meeting the intent of the soils, which required them to do more testing and it just set them back. But yeah, I can absolutely do that. I'll set that up tomorrow.
Let me know.
Well, let's push pretty hard. That's right, Ron's right, and I hate to, it doesn't seem like it's gonna have good outcome either way. Somebody's gonna be unhappy, either we're gonna be unhappy or they're gonna be unhappy. And this time they'll be unhappy because they created this situation.
I think the fact that Floyd did say it seems like the past couple of weeks have been better, I think that's a good reason to push to say, well, then maybe
We've got something now.
Yeah.
We're gonna have nothing in November. If they rip it all and put millions of in soil, we will have nothing.
I looked at it tonight, there's grass there now.
There's something there.
There's hard pan there, but there is something there to hold the surface.
At least to hold the
It took them
bottom.
2.5 weeks to mow that whole thing
Yeah,
at 2-3 mile an hour down each row.
well, that's good, but that they were mowing something.
Yeah,
They ripped
I mean,
that up and they're not
there's a
gonna
lot
be able
there,
to
a lot
do
of materials there. And the spinner thing to go around the poles, down to the mower. I mean, it's all covered.
I would be in favor of leaving it the way it is until spring.
That would be my thought.
You gotta be prepared for them to come back and say, well, then can we at least generate till spring?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Then that's a no. They're not gonna get their zoning permit. They created all this.
I agree.
That's why I think you're gonna get tremendous pushback.
We are gonna get tremendous pushback. We just gotta be prepared for the questions that are gonna be asked.
So one other quick question. I asked last time about the permitting on my side, if I could put my fence up. Is this a permit that's open, one permit, or is it two permits that I can close one, that I can put my fence up and they're not gonna come back and say, well, we need to do more work now? They told me in June they were done, but I've asked to see how the permitting is written so I can put my fence up. Does anybody know if it's, my side is all together or is there two separate permits?
Just a second.
So the township has a permit for, basically, we made them get a driveway permit. Per the approved plan, closer to the existing wire that crosses Mertz, there's supposed to be one entrance there. At some point, they just assumed they were okay with accessing the entire
Where?
side. That's why we limited them to one side on each side of the floodplain area there, which can't say they really followed that once.
You followed
Once
anything
they
we
were
talked
done.
about, you have to go on.
So they have that permit. That's gonna be where we have the ability to walk anything in the right of way and then say, this is what we think needs to be done at the end of the project. We had that for Weavers and now we have it for Mertz. Outside of the right of way was part of the NPDS permit for the whole site. But really, that just means that they have to stabilize that in the end when they close out the permit. And they have the ability to do any work in that limited disturbance until the project's done. I don't know if that really ties anything to where you want to put up a fence. I think if they say they're done in there, put up your fence. I mean, I think it's kind of, I think there has to be a coordination with them to make sure that you're not cutting off anything that they're supposed to be getting in there for. I don't know what the agreement is on the, that's the private property agreement that's separate from what the township has, and I don't know. I can't speak to that at all. I don't know how putting up a fence for what they have, that line going through the property. I don't think that's the township's.
The township's not
position.
gonna close out the permit until they ask for the permit to be closed out.
We actually, we're just looking for the permit to be closed out before we finalize the last payment of the escrow. We have that in there as a cost to the escrow that says we will not close that out until the NPDS permit is terminated. But as far as a fence and where that goes up and what their access agreement is, I don't know. We didn't have any.
You have an easement with them, don't you? Yeah. I would think that would be what you have to, what would be addressed there would be through the easement, which gives them, right to maintain their.
And that's all written in, that's fine. I just thought I would ask if it's a permit that was separate. I don't wanna go put my fence up and they decide they're gonna change something. And the pole's gonna get ripped out or moved, because who knows with these people?
And I agree.
And I'm like, oh, then I'm not taking my fence back down.
It's private property thing, it's,
Okay.
and I don't think anything we have pertains to that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I told them kind of as a side note that before we close out anything on the project and as a whole, we're looking for the residents that are directly affected here to say, we feel like this has been addressed. How much leverage we have with that, I didn't really care. I just wanted to make sure they knew that was something we're looking for.
Is there anything that is occurring or has occurred on Ron's side? I mean, as it currently exists today, that's inconsistent with any permit that's been issued? I mean, is it, again, I'm not asking you for a ironclad answer, but to your knowledge, it's generally consistent with what they are required by the permit to do?
I think they didn't stabilize things the way they should have. I think that was one of the things that
They
they
didn't see
just
grass
consistently
back.
didn't.
They didn't clean it up and restore it back to where it was. There was rocks and debris and everything.
But you've cleaned it up yourself.
I had to
Yeah,
start grass.
That's what I'm saying, is with the work that Ron has done, is it generally in compliance? I mean, there's nothing on Ron's property that you're thinking has to be changed at this point.
No, I think the one area that it looked like you had just kind of rototilled, and that doesn't have any grass to it, but to me, it looked like it was a farm field that was.
Part of my field, but I can throw
We threw some,
barley on it and it's from, I ran out and didn't do it all, but I can.
I
But I am gonna
think
rip
that's
it
his
up.
choice on that end of it. I think we can still ask them to do anything we think should be done, but the areas he stabilized, it looked like he seeded it and
Yeah, I'm trying to help answer his question about the fence. There's nothing in the area where he would put a fence that you think is going to require additional work to your knowledge.
not that I know, no. No, I really don't. But
Yeah, so I mean, I think you're assuming some risk with the work you've already done and with putting up the fence, but we're not, it doesn't look like the township has any reason to require you to take that fence back down or to require Heelstone to do any work in that area.
no, no.
Just like to be reimbursed.
I don't think we have control over that.
But we are gonna push for it. That I can tell you, because it's part of it, just like the road. You know what I mean? When we close the road committee, we have to make sure that Mertz Road is in good shape. I mean, there's some conditions there. And this is not,
Oh,
it's not
absolutely.
directly in the project, but this is part of the project. But they didn't.
Well, that's gonna be part of our punch list at the end of the project if they haven't already satisfied Ron and Floyd on these issues. All right. All right.
Go to the chief.
What's up? Yeah, chief, it's up to you. You're just keen. You can we didn't do your police report.
good evening. So everybody has a police report, I'm assuming you're following. Does anybody have any questions about it?
Only the mileage. Patrol miles for Fleetwood and Richmond have been the exact same for the last 3 months.
So
That's an error.
because it's 50-50 and we're constantly in and out of the township,
Uh-huh.
I pretty much take it and I split it in half for the total miles between Fleetwood and Richmond. That's what I'm doing.
Well,
For us to try to
But
split
that's
hairs.
okay, as long as it's an answer, because
Yeah.
then we know.
So for us to split hairs on it with the way we're in and out all the time, it's really just wouldn't be feasible to do.
Well, that's good. So as long as we know.
We're about 50% all the way around. So that's why I do what I do. It's all one split.
I would think we have a ton more miles in Richmond Township than Fleetwood. Because the road's so small.
Sometimes, yeah, that can be the case. Other times not. It's just depending what's going on, how busy it is. But when you look at the call line, like the calls and stuff, a lot of times it's pretty close to 50-50. So that's why I did that with the mileage. And again, we don't have any. There's no good way, feasible way to split the miles because of how much we're in and out.
I understand that.
We used to do that a long time ago,
Right.
but just because of how things have changed, it's really just not feasible to do anymore. Anybody have any questions outside of that? There's a couple pages of incidents
You're very busy.
that we have.
Do you want to ask him about Jody's situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jody Gawker was here, and she has deliveries that are addressed to her property all the time for this solar project. And they come and make deliveries, pull in her driveway, block her driveway, drop stuff off that's not hers. Is there just, can we get a heads up to you guys? Can you keep them out? Can you, what's on the legal end? It's township, there's not much we can do, but I didn't know if,
Well, I think it's important that she probably post the property for starts, stating no trespassing, no turnaround, no vehicles, because what that does is, first off, why are they using her address?
well, she's addressed it.
Question.
She's addressed it with them as hard as she can. She's called all the companies and with no response. The challenge I see with her, she has a business there, so she really don't want to keep people out, right? Correct, Jody? So
Yeah.
but it's just these guys that make deliveries. They're dropping stuff off. They're delivering there.
What's your address?
846 Fleetwood Lines Road.
Okay.
It's right. It's this side of the solar project.
Yeah, I know where she's at. I mean, actually, I hate to say that, but I think the best course at this point is, so when we come out, if we do enforcement action of any kind, that's a lot of times what we look for. So people won't say, well, I was told that this is where to go and stuff. Now, I don't know who you addressed it with. If you give me information, I can most certainly call them too and say enough's enough. It needs to stop.
That would be great.
Or this is what we're going to do going forward, and then post the property. People are coming here to do business. The no trespassing signs don't mean anything. They know they can be there.
Right.
We're targeting basically whatever's going on there, like no turnaround, no trespassing, driveway for business purposes only, for your address. But if you have some contacts that you made, I'll call them for you.
Yeah, I'll give you those in a minute.
Yeah, I'll most certainly do that. I'm just saying, I don't know what part you guys didn't understand about this, but if it doesn't stop, then this is what we can do. And I can say that stuff and that's okay for me to do because I can enforce it.
Can she, if she's getting deliveries that aren't to her name, but
She can
somebody shows up,
she can actually
can she
deny
just
it.
hold them?
Well, you can call, have you tried, call or whoever delivered and tell them it's not the address to take it back? Do they come and get it?
The only thing they came and got was the porta potties.
They
They were-
delivered porta potties to
Yeah,
your
they were
address?
there for 4 days.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the last package I did deny, but now it's people. So there's like there's a labor company they're using locally, and 3 Mondays in a row I've had laborers show up at 7:30 in the morning on a Monday. The last time the laborers were in my driveway and would not move, and I couldn't get my daughter on the bus.
Yeah, so I will tell you, until I can make some contacts and you can get things posted, if you just call us, we'll come out, we'll tell them they have to move.
Okay.
If they're on private property and they're not, and you come out and you say you have to leave and they refuse to leave, it becomes defiant trespass, which is an arrestable offense. So I would urge you that if you run into that problem, get on the phone, give us a call, we'll send an officer out. And pretty much what we'll deal with, typically we'll give them a warning, we'll give them the opportunity to leave. If they say, yeah, no, this is where we're told to go, too bad, we'll just arrest whoever's there. That's just how we deal with things.
Okay.
So it doesn't continue for you, because that's
Thank you.
porta potty, that's ridiculous. I've never heard of such a thing.
The one company finally did stop, but that's because they moved out. They were back where they came from. But this new company, it's
Okay.
3
So-
deliveries and 3 laborers.
So I would say a couple no trespassing signs, and we'll get the contacts to me. I'll make some phone calls tomorrow, and we'll see if we can put an end to it. And if it still continues, and you wake up one morning, there's laborers in your driveway, and you've asked them to move, you need to give us a call. We'll come out. We'll deal with it then.
Cool, thank you.
Okay? You're welcome.
All right. Supplemental road work.
Just to add to that, they're looking to meet next week to just do the initial pre-construction walkthrough to go over that, and they would like to still squeeze that in this month. So that's what they're aiming for, but with an 18K, once it gets a little closer, then I feel more confident. But if they're saying that window's there, that's hopefully when they squeeze it in. But that's the only update for that. Yeah, the temperatures are still holding out all right for hitting. Just to be clear, if we have that meeting and the conservation district does agree at this point, the grass won't take, everybody's in agreement, we're pushing forward, just hold off. We don't
Yeah.
need to go first. Yeah. Okay.
100%.
So,
I'm not holding out much hope on the conservation district after they were here. They just make suggestions to everybody. Not to everybody, but to this project they do. Everybody else they turn it down. All right, solicitors report.
On your agenda is the delinquent sewer report, and Jen handed out a copy of last month's report. There really isn't any change, but I do want to go over a couple things with you. One is I'd like the minutes to reflect that there was a payment plan that was approved for a property that we got a judgment on. There's the 458 Main Street property. So they have made a substantial payment, and pursuant to the agreement that Jen has with them, they're gonna make catch-up payments. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Mhm.
Right, okay.
Along
So-
with doing the quarterlies and everything else, yeah.
Right, they're gonna make catch-up payments, and they promise to pay on schedule going forward. So hopefully that will clean that one up. And then, there's another payment plan that is on the agenda for 329 South View Road. This one, the terms are, materials. Yeah, thank you. Okay, they're offering $300 a month in addition to staying current with their future quarterly payments until their balance is fully satisfied. I would recommend that you consider approving this. You know, whenever we can get people to promise to catch up and make substantial monthly payments, I think it's advisable to accept it and see how well they can do with catching up.
Brian,
And he had
this is-
written a letter.
There's the email.
No, I have that email, I just didn't know what the balance is, and I have that. somewhere.
1376.
Yeah, that's,
It's about 4 months worth.
I make a motion that we accept that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right, and then one that's on the list that we haven't had any discussions with about a payment plan. I wanted to ask you if you want us to file a civil complaint against them. That's the 11 Hewitt Avenue property is account 1205. That one is not as large as some of the other balances, but, and we have filed a lien on that property, but there hasn't been any progress. This is someone who's been a repeat offender. in
I
terms of-
remember seeing that name.
Yeah, that name goes off and comes back from time to time. You wanna wait and see if he makes any payment progress?
Did you send a letter?
Yes,
Yeah, I think Jen's letter goes first, then we file liens. Then if there's no activity, and the balance continues to grow, I come to you and ask for authorization to file a civil complaint.
Maybe one more.
Yeah, I was just thinking one more.
One more quarter,
One
maybe?
more quarter.
Okay. All right, that's all I wanted to go over with you on the sewer accounts. Do you have any questions, anything?
No.
Several of the larger balances have been foreclosed upon by mortgage companies, and we will eventually get paid when they sell the property. So the list isn't really too bad right now. If you don't have any other questions, I'll move on.
Good.
Okay. Next item was burning ordinance, and based on our discussion last month, I believe it was a consensus of the board that the regulations that we currently have in place are generally the regulations that we want, but we would consider whether or not, based on the zoning map, that we would exclude open burning from the R1 zoning district. And the board wanted to review what the boundaries of that zoning district are before we consider preparing an ordinance, amending the burning ordinance to restrict open burning in the R1 district. So I don't know if you've had an opportunity to go over that, and if you have any thoughts on that tonight.
I did, I looked at it. I mean, sounds like a workable solution. to me.
I think it's very
That one seems to make too much sense. But I'm sure there's something we're not thinking about.
Well, it's all about drawing lines, and there are always some people who maybe will be impacted who haven't been causing problems, and but this is really just about trash burning that is affected. It doesn't prevent people from, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, they can still have a backyard fire pit. Yeah,
But I think it would eliminate most of the problems we've been having. Because the problems we've been having are residential.
and that's where you get neighbor complaints, is
Exactly.
when the density is higher in those neighborhoods.
I mean, it's not that you don't get complaints other places, but it's more likely there. But
Did you prepare? You didn't prepare one.
No, I wanted to see
I think
if,
you should prepare it, and then we should put it on our website and get it out there. Get ahead of it, let them understand what we're doing.
put the draft out there, say the board's gonna enact this at its December meeting, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
give them one to digest it.
Unless I can advertise it for the November meeting. I mean, it's really gonna be a fairly straightforward amendment. Do you want me to do that?
That we approve it in November.
I could do that if you authorize me to advertise it.
I mean, you could have that option and then just delay it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to delay it. as
Yeah.
well.
But if you delay it, then we have to advertise it again.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't
thought
wanna
you
burn
could
the
hold.
advertising money.
I think by the end of the year, we're okay.
Okay,
So prepare it, let's look at it before you advertise it, and then we'll put it on the interweb,
okay,
just to get it out there.
all right.
That people are gonna have some pushback, but I think there's also some understanding in 2023, in the middle of development, you shouldn't be burning all your trash.
Should think that would be common sense.
What do you think? Listen, I just got a dumpster myself, because I just got tired of it, but that's the best thing I ever did. No more burning. Best thing ever.
You wanna consider a motion for me to prepare that ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the draft ordinance to reduce the pension age, and this is, we have for our non-uniform employees, a defined contribution plan where the township contributes a percentage of their wages to a pension. And then, those funds are they managed by the employee, Jen? Do you choose the investments for
Yes.
those funds? Yeah, that's what I thought. So, the proposal is to change the projected retirement from 65 years of age to 60 years of age. I don't believe this has any impact on the cost of the pension to you, because again, it's a defined contribution plan. But it would make it possible for employees to get the benefit of the retirement savings that they have accumulated before they turn 65.
It'd make them more likely to retire at 60.
Correct.
Good employee.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
There's
that's the bad thing.
That is a bad thing. That doesn't mean they're going to, but it gives them that opportunity.
Right. Now, there's a question that I have asked the pension advisor. What's his name? Bittner. Yeah, I sent a question to Ron Bittner. Under state law, there are some, when you make changes in the benefits, you have to have an actuary prepare a report to advise you about what the cost to the pension plan would be for that change in the benefits. Again, I don't believe this has difference in the cost because it's a defined contribution.
Not a defined.
Right. If it were a defined benefit plan, I think it would definitely add cost to lower the retirement age. But I have asked Ron to give me an opinion about whether or not we have to get that actuarial report in order to do a change in the pension plan. So if you want to move forward with this tonight, I would recommend that you consider a motion to authorize the advertisement of this ordinance for enactment at your November meeting. And if I determine that it is necessary to get an actuarial report before you take action on that, that we request that that be prepared. Again, I don't think it's necessary, but it is something I need to get confirmation on.
I don't think we need to do it tonight. We don't do it at 60. It's gonna turn 60
That's a
shortly.
good point.
So let's just push it to the next meeting to get that
Okay,
confirmation.
that makes sense. All right, I will get that answer to you as soon as I have it. I mentioned to the chairman that there's a subject I want to have a brief executive session on about potential litigation. And I will go over that with you after the meeting tonight. Do you have any questions for me on anything? All right, thank you.
Okay, monthly road report, Bobby's not here, so I'll look through it. I don't have any questions, he's not here.
About it. And, the only thing he wanted to bring up was, he wanted to get a sewer plant gate
Yep,
fence.
I'm good with that.
Yep.
The lowest one is here is from
From that.
Promax. I make a motion that we approve that.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. That'll come out of the sewer fund.
Yes.
Secretary King of the bills.
For general fund, we had check numbers 11134 through 11182, including EFTs for $144,525.45.
Motion.
All in favor? Aye.
State fund, there were no checks. Life fund, there were no checks. Sewer fund, check numbers 3132 to 3139, including EFTs for $24,518.81.
Motion with that.
All in favor? Aye.
Walnut Town Fire Escrow, check number 2169 for $741.
Motion with that.
All in favor? Aye.
Virginville Fire Escrow, check number 2168 for $741.
Motion with that.
All in favor? Aye.
We did receive money from the volunteer fire relief allocation for the year, which was in the amount of $27,419.56 that will be distributed to the fire companies next month. And we also received the pension fund allocation from the state for $23,311.55.
Yeah.
And that is all I have.
You know, you don't have to tell me now, but tell next week, what percentage of the pension fund that covers?
I will check that out and let you know.
Yeah, you don't have to do it today. I wouldn't expect you to have that off the top of your head. It's always an interesting number.
That's all I have.
I don't have anything, chairman's report. I did participate in the Fleetwood 150th parade. I thought that was a really, really nice event. I thought it was good to have the township truck in there. It was well attended. I just thought that was a good deal, and we represented the truck cleaned up.
I was nicely surprised.
Yeah,
Boy, one turnout.
it was a nice turnout. So kudos to Fleetwood for that. Whoever was in charge, he did it, and it was well organized. I thought too.
Boy,
I mean, it was seamless. Yep. So, any public participation from the floor? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, my name's Mike Schmidt, 36-year resident of the township, 1478 Richmond Road. I just wanted to bring to the attention of the board something that my wife or I at various times have actually called the office here just to put it on your radar screen. We've just got a concern about, this is going to really back off on some serious stuff you've talked about here today. This is not serious, but it could be. And that's that gigantic oak tree up there at the head of Richmond Road where it comes up to 222. Most everything that's hanging out over Richmond Road is dead. And we're talking about branches that are 18 inches diameter where they go into the trunk of that big old oak. If they start coming down, God forbid that they come down on somebody, you know, they could be really serious. Chances are, you look at how often a car is going under those branches versus all the time they're not, chances are extremely slim. That tree could fall to the ground and it's not going to hit anybody, but it could. And before that might happen, I'm just asking you to have the road crew look at that tree and consider, should those branches come down? I mean, the utility company even has most of the lines supported by the branches. They lay on the branches on that. So I don't know if this is a utility company problem, if it's a township, if it's even a landowner, I don't know. All I know is that every time I go under them, I'm looking at them because I want to see if they're moving when I'm there, I'm going to goose it. They're dead.
I go by.
And I brought you a picture just so you.
Yeah, I think we all know where it's
I'm going to give you the picture.
I see it all the time.
Who wants it? I don't know if you do.
I'll take it.
You know, and I signed the back and
An
I
autograph.
just took that yesterday. I just took it yesterday while there's still leaves so you can see what's dead and what's not.
I really hesitate to damage that tree. I get where you're coming. It's a
Hey, if
safety
it's
factor.
dead, I
If
wouldn't
it's
want to
dead,
damage
we
the
almost
tree.
have to have someone look at it, but that thing is old and massive.
I agree. I'm aware of some of the oldest trees in the county. There's
Yeah.
one down in the Ole area, the Ole Valley, that I've seen many, many times. And
Yeah.
I'd hate to see the tree go, but once a branch is dead and poses a threat,
Yeah, no,
then I think it's time to trim that branch.
I understand. I just hate to do something that would jeopardize that tree.
I wouldn't want you to.
I don't know what the,
I want the tree to
I don't know
stay
if we
there.
gotta get an
See, the
arborist
other
to look at it.
problem
Huh?
is there is that you have a utility line there that's entangled there.
Yeah, the utility lines, I wouldn't have thought they'd do that, but they literally are supported by that dead branch.
It's communication. Electric's
Yeah, there's
here.
high voltage, but it's below.
Electric's, it's just one line, but
We do take dead trees very seriously.
yeah, we do.
Yeah,
we
and
go out of our way.
that's one that's only several branches, but they're the ones that hang over Richmond Road.
No, I know the one.
Yeah. Rich Maiden has some too, that at the golf course there that come way out. I seen them going through there. I'm like, man,
I can't imagine the problem that townships around the state are dealing with right now with dead ash. They're everywhere, and there's no way you can deal with that. They're gonna be just allowed to drop, and, you know, if you pay attention to the news, especially down in the Philadelphia area over the last 4 or 5 months, there's been some people killed and some more catastrophes.
We're really
Those are less likely to
proactive.
happen out here in the farm country.
we have a new budget line just for tree trimming now. last
Well,
couple
that's
of
one
years.
to look at. Yeah, I
We'll
know I
definitely-
for one would
we'll
appreciate it if you did.
We'll
Maybe it just
definitely,
needs to be trimmed, not that branch in particular.
It might just be one or two branches there.
this year looks
But they're not little branches, they're
Size
big
of
as,
some trees.
as most trees.
Yeah, that thing's a monument.
That is a monument,
I wouldn't wanna see the tree taken down, I wouldn't.
Could be trimmed down.
yeah. Just strip it off here. Someone has to know something.
But thank you for just giving me the chance to bring
Thanks
this
for
up.
coming in.
Sure.
Participate. That thing is just like, I
Oh, it's
don't know,
huge.
100 years old, that thing is.
It's rather, I mean, like,
It's not as big as an old as that tree.
I think he does actually.
I know somebody I was in contact with in another municipality, it's why I'm missing. He is an arborist, I don't know how often he'll look at things, I don't think he'll officially do much there just because of what his position, but
Well, the
I
trick
think
to
they
those
do.
trees is you trim them when they're dormant. You usually don't do a lot of damage to them.
That's more than-
Problematic in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, that's not a road crew job.
Yeah,
No, that's not something that's just because you know how to run a chainsaw
And
and
then
you've got a dump truck,
a
you can
piece of
tackle
fiber that
that.
goes by there, and then you got a real issue. There's-
But we'll address it.
Thank you. Just to know that you're aware of it, or we'll look at it.
We had the same problem on Rich Mead,
uh,
like at the golf course. You know, just one branch all the way across the road. I don't even know how they stay up.
I know which one you mean.
All right, any other public participation from the floor? Okay, then we're gonna go into executive session, so you guys wanna stick back when we come back in, but we gotta vacate the room here and go somewhere else. Okay, if you go in here in the office.
For nothing?
Is it 4-0?
I go there all the time. I always look at you.
We wanna. No, you go. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Been over it.
Yeah, when, between the Burkholder and Bailey Farm, and those 10 homes, we bought that in 1986. We bought one of those 10 in 86. We've been there all the time.
Those are the two contracts. This one is the contract.
72 and 87.
Is the
Not anymore. That was my main route back in the 80s. Not
There's
anymore.
certain plans,
How long?
kind of future.
I think so. They're in that.
I heard that it might be.
It's limited, but limited access.
I heard you.
Okay.
But I didn't know because I was busy and
But
this
it's
was
really-
up, so I'm not sure.
These
if
will be
they
something.
changed
I've
it
become
or
a fan of
not.
the circle.
Yeah, listen, I was.
And they go, so we were told here, so it doesn't
I
matter.
went through
You
now.
gotta go get something that's supposed to sign, that's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my husband bought a bunch of them yet, so, yeah, that's on the list.
Along with everything else, right?
Right?
So you get it, but yeah, just go out, put them, post it so that we can see them on the property, and that gives us a lot. And if they're out there, and they're, you know, it's up to you really how you wanna have. If you wanna go out there and say, hey, get off the property, and they leave, that's up to you. If you go out there and you let your tell them he needs to get off the property, and they just look at you like you're a nobody, you
Right.
just will come out.
Cool, thank you.
They'll get one opportunity, and after that, that's it.
Okay.
So, 'cause a lot of people don't understand, like, if you're told by the owner of the property to leave somewhere, and you fail to do so, it's a misdemeanor. Like, we could literally hook you up and take you to jail. I don't like that, because I don't think in jail.
Right.
But, that's the way it could go, you can take them out for processing. And a lot of these people aren't even from PA. It's another problem.
Right.
If I arrest you and you're not from PA, you're going for me. Make sure they get their money. So it's just, it's kind of fair. And of course, we'll come out and explain it to them, usually give them one shot at it, and then after that, probably process it and start.
Cool.
So,
Right.
taken care of.
Thank you very much,
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Do you have anything for me? No, I was listening. Oh, yeah, I just had a little Thank you.
I didn't know things would shake out the way they did later on, yeah.
Two. Second. Fly ball to the left. Strike it down closer. So it should be 2 minutes.
Okay, it's 8:35. We're back from executive session. I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. This one we need to.
Yeah, you only need to.
So I got a question for you, Chris. I'm very confused. Okay? We are different than Floyd in the way because there is a